What you called rejection was my hand protecting you. Ethan never thought a single email could dismantle his entire world. He stared at the screen, the words blurring as if they refused to settle into reality. We regret to inform you, that was it, again. Another rejection. Another door slammed shut. He leaned back in his chair, letting out a hollow laugh. Of course, he muttered. Why not? For years he had worked toward this. Late nights, missed birthdays, endless sacrifices. This opportunity was supposed to be the one. The job that would change everything. The moment where all his effort finally meant something. But now, nothing. Just silence. Just rejection. Ethan walked out into the rain without an umbrella. He didn't care. The cold drops soaked through his shirt, clinging to his skin, but inside he felt something worse, emptiness. Why does this keep happening? He whispered, looking up at the gray sky. It wasn't just the job, it was everything. The relationship that ended without explanation. The business idea that failed. The friendships that slowly faded. Every time he tried to move forward, something or someone pushed him back. I'm doing everything right, he said, his voice cracking. So why do I keep losing? There was no answer, only the rain. That evening, Ethan found himself sitting on an old wooden bench in the park. It was a place he hadn't visited in years. Back when life was simpler. Back when hope came easy. He ran his hand along the worn surface of the bench, memories flooding back. He used to come here as a teenager, dreaming about the future. He used to believe everything would work out. What happened to that guy? He whispered. Maybe he grew up. Ethan turned. An old man stood beside him, holding a small umbrella. His face was lined with age, but his eyes were steady, calm, almost knowing. Mind if I sit? The man asked. Ethan shrugged. It's a free bench. The man sat down, placing the umbrella between them so it covered both. You look like someone who just lost something important, the man said. Ethan let out a dry laugh. More like everything. The man nodded slowly. Ah, one of those seasons. For a while neither of them spoke. Then Ethan said, Tell me something honestly. Do you believe everything happens for a reason? The old man smiled faintly. Depends on what you mean by reason. I mean, is there some kind of plan, or is it all just random? Ethan asked. The man looked ahead, watching the rain fall. Let me ask you something, he said. Have you ever been rejected? Ethan scoffed. That's all my life is. And do you think every rejection was bad for you? Yes, Ethan said immediately. Obviously. The old man chuckled softly. Obviously, Ethan frowned. What's that supposed to mean? The man turned to him. What if I told you that some of those rejections weren't losses at all? Ethan shook his head. That's just something people say to feel better. Is it? The man asked gently. The old man leaned back. When I was young, he began, I wanted to be a pilot more than anything. Ethan glanced at him, mildly interested despite himself. I trained for years, studied, practiced, I was ready. But when the final selection came, he paused. I was rejected. Ethan nodded. Sounds familiar. I was devastated, the man continued. I thought my life was over, that I had failed my purpose. So what happened? Ethan asked. The man smiled softly. I took a job I didn't want, something temporary just to survive. And that temporary job led me to meet someone who changed my life, my wife. Ethan stayed quiet. We built a life together, the man said. Had children, laughed more than I ever thought possible. He looked at Ethan. Years later, I found out that the flight I would have been assigned to had crashed. Ethan's breath caught. Everyone on board died, the man said quietly. The rain seemed to soften. Ethan swallowed. So you're saying that rejection saved your life? The man nodded. And not just my life, he added. Everything that came after it. Ethan looked down at his hands. For the first time, doubt crept into his certainty. What if, he hesitated, what if that's just luck? The man smiled. Maybe, he leaned closer. Or maybe, some doors close because they're not meant for you. Ethan thought about the job he didn't get. The relationship that ended. The opportunities that slipped through his fingers. Each one had felt like a loss. Each one had hurt. But what if he didn't see the full picture? What if I miss something important? He asked quietly. The old man nodded. That's often the case. But how am I supposed to know? Ethan asked. How do I know if something is protecting me or just failing me? The man stood up, adjusting his umbrella. You don't, he said simply. Ethan frowned. That's not very helpful. The man chuckled. But you can choose what you believe, he said. You can see rejection as punishment or as protection. He stepped back, and that choice will shape your life. The old man began to walk away. Wait, Ethan called. Who are you? The man paused, then turned with a gentle smile. Just someone who learned the hard way that not everything you lose is meant to be kept. And then he was gone. Ethan sat there long after the rain stopped. His mind replayed everything. What if the job wasn't right for him? What if the relationship would have led to deeper pain? What if the things he called rejection were actually redirection? For the first time in a long while, he didn't feel angry. He felt curious. Weeks passed. Ethan kept applying, but something had changed. He wasn't desperate anymore. He wasn't attaching his worth to every outcome. Then one day he got a call. A smaller company, not as prestigious, not what he originally wanted. We'd like to offer you a position, the voice said. Ethan hesitated. Old him would have said yes immediately. New him paused. What kind of work environment do you have? He asked. The conversation went on. And for the first time he chose carefully, not out of fear but awareness. He accepted. Months later, Ethan learned something shocking. The company that had rejected him earlier, the one he thought was his dream, was collapsing. Internal issues, layoffs, toxic leadership. It wasn't what it seemed. Ethan sat at his new desk absorbing the news. A slow realization spread through him. If I had gotten that job, he whispered, I would have been stuck, stressed, miserable, maybe even broken. He leaned back, exhaling deeply. So that was it. That evening, Ethan returned to the old bench. The sky was clear this time. No rejection, he said softly, just protection. For the first time, he truly believed it. Every closed door, every no, every moment he thought he was being denied. Maybe he was being guided, protected from things he couldn't see, saved from paths that weren't meant for him. Life doesn't always make sense in the moment. Rejection feels personal. Pain feels unfair. But sometimes what you call rejection is something greater at work, something you don't understand yet, a hand that quietly redirects you, protects you, prepares you.